that there was a very strong link between this group, the members of this group, and this string of assassinations. The people that we interviewed were not randoms. They were not people who were just bragging and talking crazy stuff. These were people who were in a position to know about what happened, who were well placed to understand what happened, and in some cases took direct responsibility for these terrorist acts. So that's what we're working with here. That's sort of what inspired CPJ to come here, and I'll throw it to you.
Thank you, AC. Hello all, and thanks for coming. In light of the new evidence uncovered by journalists from ProPublica and Frontline, the Committee to Protect Journalists calls today on the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to reopen its investigation into a series of murders of Vietnamese American journalists killed between 1981 and 1990. The 5 journalists, as described before, worked all for small Vietnamese language publications that published articles critical of the National United Front for the Liberation of Vietnam, also known as the Front, or were perceived as sympathetic to the communist government in Vietnam. After all these years, the FBI has been unable to gather enough evidence to pursue prosecutions, and the investigation has remained dormant since the late 1990s. No one has ever been charged for these murders. CPJ believes that the information uncovered by ProPublica Frontline provide new avenues of investigation for law enforcement officials. The allegation that a death squad operated in the United States during that period and murdered critical journalists must give this case the highest priority for U.S. federal investigators. The lack of justice in hundreds of murders of journalists around the world is one of the greatest threats to press freedom today. CPJ has sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice urging investigators to reopen the case. We appreciate that the Department of Justice has shown interest in this issue, and we believe that this is a very positive development. We expect to meet them soon to discuss our concerns further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, AC. Thank you, too. I'm happy to take questions. Any questions? Yes, please.
So you say you're going to approach soon. What is, when will that be done, and what will the method be of approaching DOJ?
Oh, we've written a letter. They've received the letter. We are, in principle, we have an agreement to meet. We're working out the dates, and we hope to have it soon. We're encouraged by that response.
Hi, I have a question to Mr. Thu. So you made 16 allegations accusing people and several organizations to support press freedom and human rights. I think including Radio Free Asia and a member of Congress. So my question is that can you explain your allegations and perhaps a link to the murder? And I think that you also include that there's you found about the income of some of the individuals as well. So can you explain that?
This is not the venue for that type of question. We can take this offline, but those were not allegations; they were facts. And I'd be more than happy to I share with you already. But like I say, this is not the venue for it.
Yeah, I want to really, obviously, Tu has a lot of opinions about a lot of different matters. I want to keep this very focused on the issue before us, which is one of justice. We are all committed to that. We want to make sure that the people who carried out this crime are convicted, they're brought to justice. This is an outrage that this has not occurred 35 years after his father was murdered, and that's the message we're here to deliver today. More questions? Yes.
May we assume that there haven't been any attempts to intimidate ProPublica or Frontline?
No, there have. No, we had to contact the FBI because in the wake of our stories running, people began posting threats threatening to kill myself and my associate producer online, Tony Wen. So no, we had to contact the FBI and have them look into that.
I want to add something to that. I've been receiving threats, direct threats, emails, and I believe I shared with you, Carlos and AC.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the emails from threats from an organization called Việt Tân. I got them, so I shared with them. They called me up and told me that I will end up like my father.
What is your sense about why the lack of movement following the ProPublica Frontline investigation that came out months ago?
6 months.
Yeah, so why are you now, why haven't they come to you? Why are you still trying to set up a meeting? Why? It seemed that there were a lot of leads that were listed. Why the drag? I think there's been a drag.
I don't know. I mean, we it took us a little time to kind of get our ducks in a row and reach out to them. I mean, there's a lot of very compelling new information in the report, and so I don't really have an answer to that. That's one of the things I want to talk about. We, from our vantage point as journalists, we see lots of new evidence, lots of new leads. They're the investigators, they're the professionals. We want to understand from their perspective why there hasn't been more aggressive action. Yeah.
And if I could ask a follow-up, have you been in contact with any attorneys about the viability of bringing a court case? Decades after the fact, I know sometimes prosecutors have a higher bar, than journalists for willing to report the stories. Or do you have a sense about that maybe they think that it'll be hard to win?
Well, obviously the goal here is to achieve justice and to have sufficient evidence to charge people, indict them, and bring them to trial and convict them. And those are decisions that investigators have to make. But we believe that there's sufficient evidence certainly to renew the investigation, and I think that's compelling based on the reporting that we've seen. But that's why we want to have a face-to-face. We want to sit down with the investigators. We want to understand the issue from their perspective. But from where we sit, and you have to remember, CPJ has been involved in this since 1994 when we first published a report. Some of the points and sort of lines of investigations that AC has advanced were first identified in that report. And we know that initially, there were investigations and this was pursued. We don't know why those investigations did not reach their conclusion. More questions? Okay, terrific. We are here. We're happy to have some follow-up conversations. Thank you very much for your interest and attention, and we'll keep you informed. Thank you.
Để tôi còn đây 2 tay.